Hey everybody, Joe McCall here, Real Estate Investing Mastery. How you doing? Just wanted to do a new Q&A here about a certain topic that just came up in Facebook. Now, those of you that don't know, there's a really good group called Wholesaling Houses Full-Time that Alex runs, my podcast co-host. And so just go to Facebook, look up Wholesaling Houses Full-Time, and you'll see a great group there. There was a thread that just was posted recently, and I wanted to throw my 2 cents in there. And it's all about, can you wholesale properties without a license? Now, the Real Estate Commission in Ohio, in their latest newsletter, just issued a notice in their newsletter, kind of a newsletter notification or whatever you call it. And I just wanted to read it to you and give you my 2 cents and tell you what I think is really at stake here and what this is all about. All right. And again, this is just my opinion. I'm not an attorney. I don't play one on TV. Every state is different. You got to look at your state law, contact an attorney. And you know what? Why don't you call your real estate commission and ask them what they think about this, okay? But I'm going to tell you what I think, because I've been doing this a long time, and this is what I've always thought and I've always taught. Number one, it says, let me just read it to you here. It says, beware, seminars that teach unlicensed real estate activity. The division enforcement section wants all licensees and the general public to be aware of individuals, groups, training seminars, coaching programs, or otherwise, which may be providing instructions on how to circumvent real estate license law. Beware of seminars that provide instructions on wholesaling and option purchase contracts. Language included in these schemes include tying up the real property, putting the house in contract until a buyer is found, and placing the home in contract for the purpose of reselling the property. Despite what is being taught at these seminars, a real estate license is required to engage in these activities. The seminar instructors advise attendees that they can place a property in contract or under an option contract, at which time the attendee can then market and resell the property for a profit. The instructors also advise attendees how to bring buyers and sellers together through the use of an assignable contract for a fee. It is the position of the division that, pursuant to Ohio law, the aforementioned activities are those for which an Ohio real estate license is required. However, licensure requirements or the potential requirement for a license is not conveyed to attendees of these seminars, presentations, or coaching programs. In other words, they're just reiterating what the law already says. If you're going to broker real estate, you need a license, obviously, right? So pursuant to RC, the Ohio Real Estate Commission may impose a civil penalty up to $1,000 a day for unlicensed activity. And each day a violation occurs or continues is a separate violation. So for example, under most circumstances, if an individual is involved in unlicensed activity for 1 month, a civil penalty of $30,000 may be issued. But you may ask, I'm a licensed real estate broker or salesperson, why are you telling me this? Well, this certain code provides that discipline may be imposed on a licensed real estate broker or salesperson for authorizing or permitting a person to act as an agent in the capacity of a broker or salesperson who was not then licensed as a real estate broker or salesperson. Steer clear of any individual, group, organization, or otherwise that is promoting unlicensed activities such as what is mentioned above. Be very careful that you are not working with a person engaging in unlicensed activity. And if you witness this activity, feel free to notify the division. All right, well, I got a few comments to say about this. I think they're right. I think they're absolutely right. And I've looked at the Ohio law. It's the same, virtually the same in all 50 states, right? You cannot find a property for another and make money from that if you're not licensed. Okay, that's brokering real estate. And so I've always taught if you're going to be wholesaling, whether traditional wholesaling or wholesaling lease options, you need to do one of several things. Okay, number one, go ahead and get your license. What's the big deal anyway, right? Get your license. It doesn't cost that much money, and it's a small investment that will keep you out of a lot of trouble. And I know a lot of people are thinking, what are you saying? I got my license. I'm actually more liable now and more under scrutiny with my license than without it. Well, here's the thing. With a license comes more accountability. And I say, well, what's wrong with that? Really, what is wrong with that? Now, there are more rules and regulations that you have to follow. But by and large, those are good rules and regulations that you have to follow. So I always recommend getting your license. I got mine about 8 months ago. I've wholesaled a lot of properties with a license and a lot of properties without a license. So you just have to be really, really smart on how you're doing it. Let me add something in here. After I was watching my video, I think I need to make this important distinction. If you're doing deals as a realtor, disclosure, disclosure, disclosure. It's really, really important that you fully disclose in your marketing, when you're talking to sellers, in your paperwork, and your contracts, that you are a licensed agent, all right? But you are doing these deals on your own and you're not representing anybody. One of the things that I do in my contracts is I'll write a non-brokered transaction, okay? I will disclose that I'm an agent, but this is a non-brokered transaction. I'm intending to buy this property for myself, and I'll even disclose on my contracts that I may sell this property or resell this property for a profit, all right? So everybody knows what's going on. I give full disclosure. That's really important. Now, some of you may say, well, should I do these deals as a traditional realtor, as like getting the listings for the property? No, I don't think you have to do that, but that's something that you should talk to your broker about to make sure they understand. So what I do is I get a property under contract, I actually close on it, and then I resell it for a profit after I own it. But I disclose that I am an agent, and I disclose that I may or may not resell this property for a profit later on. So just make sure your broker's on board and they know what's going on. Okay. One other thing I wanted to say about this in regards to doing deals as a realtor. Many times, if you're going to be flipping lease options, if you do those as a realtor, I recommend you do them with the traditional listing agreement, because you can make actually more money doing flipping lease options as a realtor with traditional listings, because you can get the front end 3% commission and many times quite possibly get the back end 3% commissions. And another thing too is if you're flipping lease options and you don't want to get your license, then I would suggest you stay in the middle and do it as a sandwich lease option. Okay, so I could talk a lot about that. I just wanted to interrupt this video and kind of interject those few things in there, right? Now, let's say you don't want to get your license. That's fine, okay? My second option now that I want to talk about is go ahead and close on the property. If you're doing traditional wholesaling, go ahead and close on the property. There's no law that says you can't buy a house, and once you own it, then you can sell it as a for sale by owner to somebody else. I once talked to somebody in the Real Estate Commission in Arizona, which, by the way, the Real Estate Commission is made up of what? Realtors. That's right. Maybe some commissions that will allow one non-realtor to be in it. But this is a question that doesn't matter if your attorney says it's okay, if the real estate investment club that you're in says it's okay. What matters, guys, is what the Real Estate Commission, which is made up of realtors, says. Okay? That's what matters. Now, you can fight it till you're blue in the teeth, blue in the face, then it just doesn't matter. So I'm just saying now, look, instead of fighting them, join them. Okay, go ahead and get your license. It's not a big deal. But let's say you don't want to get your license. Go ahead and close on the deal. All right? Real simple. Use transactional funding, close on the deal, and then you have no problem turning around and reselling it as a for sale by owner. So I talked about this Arizona Real Estate Commission that I talked to a couple years ago, and they totally agreed. They said they have a problem with using the seller's funds, using the buyer's funds, the B to C to close the A to B. So in other words, there's the A to B, the B is a wholesaler, and the B to C. All right. They did have a problem with the C buyer using the funds, their funds, to close the A to B part. But regardless, they said, we don't have a problem with this if the wholesaler who's in the middle actually closes on the transaction with money and then a second later turns around and sells it to someone else. They have no problem with that. Okay? It's the intent. That's what they're talking about here. It's the for others that you have to be really, really careful of. So what do? You use transactional funding. You either use your own money. If you don't have any money, you use transactional funding. And you may think, oh, that's too expensive. I don't want to use that. Well, that's not true. Both Alex and I provide transactional funding to friends and clients that we work with. But a lot of title companies out there, you'd be surprised, who will still do double closings, have their own transactional funders behind them. There's a couple companies here in St. Louis, for instance, where if you do the double closing through them, they require that you use a transactional funding partner, and they have one that they could recommend to you. They only charge like $250, $300. So I've seen prices anywhere from $250 to $500 for the right to borrow their money for a couple hours while the transaction is closed on the A to B and you sell it to the B to C. All right, so that's my 2 cents on this whole issue. This isn't something new. This isn't anything to get all excited about. And you don't freak out and think, oh man, wholesaling's dead. I can't do this anymore. Get your license or use money to close on the deal and then turn around and sell. I always do double closings. Okay. The third thing I want to say is if you're doing lease options, one possibility, and you might want to talk to the commission about this or talk to an attorney about this, is hire a realtor to market and sell your properties for you. Okay? Hire a realtor to market and advertise the properties you have under contract that are representing you. Hire a realtor to do that for you. Okay? That's another third option that you could look at. One thing I want to say too, if you have to be really careful with some of the techniques that are out there that people are teaching about quote unquote co-wholesaling. I've bought some of these courses recently and I've been looking at them and I've been really kind of cautious and leery of it because this is what they teach. You go out and find a buyer who's already buying properties, an active cash buyer. You get them on the phone and you talk to them and you find out, okay, what are you looking for? What kind of property are you looking for? And then they talk about going out and finding a property for them. All right? That is called co-wholesaling. That is brokering. Okay? Finding the buyer and then finding a property for them, getting it under contract, and then assigning your contract to them. You ask any real estate commissioner across the country, that is co-wholesaling. That's brokering. Okay? And so my caution to you is don't do that. Get it under contract, get a property under contract, close on it immediately, resell it to the end buyer. Okay? All right, well, that's my 2 cents. That's about all I have to say about that. So listen, if you have any more questions, go to realestateinvestingmastery.com. There's a place there where you can record your questions and we'll get those answered. Anyway, take care. Bye-bye.